Our next segment is on the future of learning. This is something that is a channel that we have already launched, and we're going out there and taking it to more and more people. And Bernard West, who's a dear friend and advisor to the school that is, and we've thought this thing through ourselves and we've created this. Bernard, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. And you've been one of the creators and visualizers of this idea. And beyond that, we have a very, very special honor and privilege to welcome Jenny Young. Jenny is from China, but she's not from China. She's actually from the whole world. She's been everywhere. She's done everything. And but one of the key things that she works on is, and has a passion for, is education and learning and ongoing sustainable learning and development. So I thought that while she's in the country, it would be a great privilege to have you on board. So Jenny, thank you very much. Thank you. So two great people. Bernard, may I just start with you? Sure. and sort of say, well, what inspired you in terms of creating the kind of future of learning concept that we were working together? What was that special source for you?
Well, I think the original idea is that there's so many schools and learning activities that are in boxes and everyone's isolated doing their own thing. The thought of we could create a platform where people could come together, work together, share ideas, share mistakes, so that we don't repeat the same mistakes and be able to grow and make it a better education and learning environment.
Jenny, you work with the United Nations, Sustainable Development Goals. You think in 1 billion kids at a time. What are the key drivers that you see at this moment in time in terms of learning challenges, especially for the developing world? What sort of things do we need to do to get that developing world in a much, much more progressive way to address the future?
I'm actually trying to work very hard on replicable models of schools, replicable models of educational tools, because I think what we are really short of is the two extreme of talent in education. If we talk about the average education, I think the usual system is there, the government is taking care of it, the infrastructure, I think is generally there. But what that pushed the world is some extremes like gifted kids, or some extreme of people that are so determined for a certain mission, such as I must go for a Nobel Prize. So it is these people that push the world that change. If you remember, Bill Gates dropped out of Harvard, and we have internet today. So the similar thing everywhere. So there has to be some kind of incubator that encourage people that really want to dream and dream big, so that the world is moving for a positive change.
One of the things that I encounter when I go out there is there's, talent. The war for talent is one of the most important things in the world today to really move us forward. However, there are senior managers here who have to make these decisions to hire people for jobs that don't exist and for skills they don't know yet. So how do you guys train people for certain skills for jobs that don't exist? I mean, this doesn't quite make sense to me. So how do we bridge this? Bernard, you get the easy questions.
Yeah, so it's very easy. Of course, the work that we're talking about, I'm not in the skills training business necessarily, but my view on the marketplace is you have to teach people to be flexible, to be able to learn. And in most cases now, an engineer who graduates or a coder who graduates isn't automatically employable. And what they may be doing for the first 6 months is not what they're going to be doing 18 months later. So to be prepared to do one job for 5 years or 10 years no longer exists, because the skills required for that job change all the time. Right?
Let's move forward in terms of the kind of education we're doing. I mean, I love this because it's the sort of thing we encounter all the time. Everybody knows left and right side of the brain. He runs 2 great schools. He's an advisor to 2 great schools. I mean, most of the time, 80% of the time, you're just teaching them that, right? Maths and day-to-day stuff and boring
not
things.
Not in our schools at all. Not at all.
Okay, fine.
Not at all.
But generally in education systems out there at this point in time, how are we coping with that? Because robots are going to take that side. This is the humanities side. How are we managing that?
I believe the parents and teachers nowadays are so important in terms of how they observe the children when they grow. And similarly, when you're at work, if you work for a good company, your supervisor will actually be very good mentors that know how to identify who would be the people that I want to develop down the road. So I think it's very much not only the children or a system, it's the quality of teachers or supervisors we have in the whole educational system.
I think a good education is a balance of both. And no longer do you find good schools telling children, you should be a scientist, or you should just be an artist, or you should have this job, particularly young school-age children. You want them to develop their talents on both sides of the brains. And a school that tries to track someone sooner to be just a coder or just to go to art school is really misleading the student and the family. And oftentimes it's families misleading the student, not the schools, and the schools are responding to the family's desire for the kind of job they want their children to have.
Or the university they want their kids to go
Absolutely.
to. That's
Absolutely.
the other one.
Absolutely.
The other motivator. Yeah. This is some of the sort of things that we're going to be having in the future, and this is one of our last slides on this. But leaving this as a backdrop, we'll have science, we'll have technology, we'll have humanity. All of these things are going to come together as a centaur. Yeah, absolutely. So, as a final comment, Jenny, I know you work with the UN and Sustainable Development Goals, and one of your dreams is to reach billions of people. Would you like to share some of that with us so that we can inspire a whole group of people that are here?
Yes, I actually started with being a Red Cross since I was 13, and because I live in Hong Kong, so I get to learn many more languages out of my own interest. And because I have traveled a lot, live in many countries, somehow I feel that my career destination is UN because it's broad enough. Although lately I work closely with European Union, I work with Arab League, but I think the quality of UN is what I still believe in. Being a super large NGO, I wouldn't use the term NGO. UN is a non-profit organization. It is a very, very big organization. So I only started off being a very small foundation, being a very small NGO that I realized I learn faster than I can act. So after I attend many, many meetings and what I could observe to be the pros and cons of what is inside UN and many systems, I decided to go back to my very first job, which was banking, because I figure money seems to be still the king to solve a lot of problems. So if I have to help UN, I don't want to go around and ask people to please donate a little here and there. And if I hear that UN is a non-profit, that we are short of money to make everything happen to be for more people, so I decided to change my mind that I should work for people that fund UN rather than just UN, so that we get them with big checks, because I know people in UN are really, really good-hearted.
Bernard, what is your dream? I mean, I look like a genie, and if you ask me for one wish, I can't give you three. What would that be? What's your dream in terms of learning and development of people?
Look, I think it's really just access to a quality, well-rounded education, which most people don't really have. And I think that's it. And using technology to increase access, using large capital to build institutions in places. I mean, for me, that's my dream.
Great. Jenny, thank you very much indeed. Bernard, very grateful for your thoughts, and big hand for two amazing people.
Thank you.